Risk of Rain 2 is a pretty great game. I wouldn't have talked about it this much if it wasn't, but nothing is perfect. Everything has flaws, and this game is no different. Hi, I'm Socks, fresh from the oven, and today we're gonna talk about some of the things I don't really like about Risk of Rain 2. Remember that this is just my opinion, and it's okay if you don't agree with it. All I ask is that if you feel the need to tell me about that in the comments, that you just be nice and respectful about it. Anyways, let us begin. I'm going to start off with one of the things I feel most strongly about in terms of things I dislike about the game. The constant waiting in the early game is genuinely the worst thing about Risk of Rain 2. You'll be playing, waiting for enemies to spawn so you can kill them for money, and then just nothing happens. You sit there for a solid 30 to 45 seconds sometimes, and nothing will spawn at all. I hate this for two main reasons. The first is, obviously, I have a Gen Z attention span and don't want to sit still. But the second is that this sort of artificially raises the in-game time. It can feel really annoying just to be forced to sit and wait until you're allowed to play the game again. And I don't see why there can't be a failsafe that automatically spawns something in if nothing has been spawned after like 20 seconds. It just feels like a pretty obvious thing to patch out that I feel has been ignored, because it makes the early game just so incredibly slow. The next thing I don't super like about the game is Kajaro and Runald's bans. Hear me out. Don't click off. Don't dislike, please. I love them as items, and I really enjoy getting them in my runs. However, I also think it's very annoying to see how a lot of the game has to be balanced around their breakpoints of 400% damage. Like, new abilities and items have to be balanced around if they will proc the bans or not, and I find that very annoying. I understand why it's unavoidable, but I just find it so silly that some things have to be nerfed just because of how they interact with these items in particular. They feel like they have too much power over the meta of the game. When Seekers of the Storm came out, all of the pre-existing survivors got new skins that would be unlocked by beating the False Sun. This is really cool, and I'm always a proponent for adding more cosmetics to the game. However, what I find to be incredibly silly is that the 3 survivors added with the DLC, for whatever reason, didn't get the same skins? Like, they're literally from the DLC that adds the False Sun boss fight, so why don't they have skins for it too? It drives me a little bit insane that not every survivor has the same amount of skins, and that the DLC survivors simply just have less because they were added later. I hope that when we inevitably get new skins with the Alloyed Collective DLC, that there are new ones for every survivor, not just the base game ones. This next entry is something I know I'm not alone in thinking. The Voidling fight is just an absolute mess of game design. The shotgun blast attack it uses in particular is the biggest annoyance, since it literally punishes you for hiding around corners. The attraction range is way too big on the projectiles, and it just makes the attack feel completely undodgeable sometimes. This boss itself is very cool looking, but it can be a pain in the ass to get close to, especially on certain survivors like Multi, who don't have a decent escape tool. It seems that no matter what you do in the fight, it always boils down to either poking it down from afar or sitting on top of it and spamming every button you can. There's no real game sense needed other than just shoot. The in-between parkour sections are interesting, but they often feel like a waste of time. Platforming has never really been a focal point of this game, so just randomly having a purely platforming section at the end of a run feels random and boring. Overall, it's just a very poorly designed fight, and I for one would not be opposed to it getting reworked just so that it was at least a little bit fun to play. They could also make it so that you could continue your run after it like you can with the False Sun, giving you a reason to actually go to it, because right now, the only reason you have is for fun. I've mentioned this before on my channel, but this one really gets on my nerves, so I'll say it again. A lot of skills aren't agile when they have no reason not to be. I get that it can be kind of a difficult thing to balance, but there are some skills that truly just make no sense as to why you cannot use them while sprinting. The biggest example of this, and my personal enemy, is Engineer's Mines. Why, in God's name, can he not just toss them out while sprinting? There is no reason that he has to stop running to take them out of his pocket and throw them on the ground. But alas, we live in the miserable real world, where that can't happen. Some other examples include Commando's frag grenade, all of Multi's primary fires, Acrid's various projectiles attacks, and more. I feel like the agile attribute should just be a default aspect of the game, and every other ability just loses it according to their individual balancing. I think part of this is to make Huntress feel more unique, but I really don't think that's necessary anymore. When you have as much time as I do in the game begins to feel a little bit samey between each run. Sure, it's a roguelike, and each run is a little different than the last, but after a while, you begin to get a bit tired of the same enemies and items over and over again. The biggest culprit of this issue, in my opinion, are the large enemies that are spawned with the teleporter event. They might be unique from one another, but after playing the game for as long as I have, I've gotten a bit tired of them. The teleporter event in general is another issue of mine. You'd think that this grand event at the end of every stage would be a little more exciting, but instead it often just turns into more waiting. The enemy credits are increased during the fight, but I often find myself just sitting and waiting for the teleporter to charge after I beat the boss, and it's nothing if not annoying. Back to the topic of large enemy sameness, my problem is just that. They all feel the same. Some basic attacks with one scary attack when they get to low health. They aren't all like this, of course, but it still feels that way, and I just wish there were a bit more variation between bosses during the teleporter fight. Megabonk does this really well, I found, which I've started playing Megabonk, by the way. Let me know if you want to see any content on that. I think that the bosses, even though they're the same every time, they still feel unique to all the other enemies, and they actually pose a threat no matter how strong you are. I think that that should be the case for the Risk of Rain 2 bosses as well. I feel like I've just kind of said the same thing over and over again here, so I'm gonna move on. Remember that this video isn't really a genuine critique so much as a nitpicky rant. We have fun here. This next entry I am so passionate about, and my biggest issue here is just radio scanners. Just radio scanners in general. For those of you who don't know, radio scanners are these interactables that have a chance to appear on any non-hidden realm in the game that, upon purchasing them, will give you that environment's logbook entry. I hate these for one simple reason. They have zero whimsy and are boring as hell. In the Hidden Realms, you can actually find the physical logbooks hidden in secret areas, and I think that's amazing. It's an optional one-time side quest for people who want to see the lore, and I love that. The radio scanner, on the other hand, is a forced obstruction to gameplay that, last I heard, can stop other actually valuable things from spawning, like chests and multi-shops. I couldn't find any proof of that, but if it is true, it's just another reason to hate this interactable. It does nothing and feels like a very lazy way to give the player access to the lore. Hiding a non-intrusive logbook on each stage would be very easy, since every map has hidden or out-of-reach areas, like on the top of the Hanging Crystals on Abyssal Depths, or on the towers of Aphelion Sanctuary. It would just add a new factor of game knowledge for the player to earn. Game knowledge that the current radio scanner simply doesn't give. On the opposite end of this spectrum of gripes I have with the game, this next entry is something about Risk of Rain 2 that I know I'm probably alone in thinking. The fact that you can cancel Phase 4 Mithrix when you're strong enough simply shouldn't be possible. The game design of the final phase of the final boss being difficult no matter when you do it is really interesting to me, and the fact that you can just avoid that due to an oversight in the game code is silly. One of the biggest annoyances I have with most roguelikes is that they can become too easy after you get enough items, levels, powers, whatever. As fun as they are the first few times, quote-unquote god runs get boring after a while, at least to me. Phase 4 of the Mithrix fight worked as the perfect counter to this, stripping you of the majority of your power and making you fight against an insanely powerful version of Mithrix depending on your items, and I just find that really interesting and fun even when it gets you killed. So the fact that you can just skip this part of the game is just lame to me. It's like how you used to be able to clip into the abandoned aqueduct's secret area and get the bands without having to press the buttons. It just skipped this unique and fun aspect of the game for some basically free items, and I'm genuinely thankful that they patched it out. I wish they would do the same for the Mithrix Phase 4 skip. I just find it so boring, especially since half the time it happens accidentally. My penultimate issue with the game is a simple one, but one I hold true to my heart. As someone who has to get new and interesting background footage for each video, let me tell you that each run being 30 to 45 minutes is ridiculous. Maybe this is my Gen Z impatient brain rot talking, but I don't think I'm the only one who experiences fatigue once you hit stage 4 or 5. If it were up to me, I'd totally make a 3-stage alternative game mode that would be no more than 20 minutes. It would be 2 normal stages, probably randomized, and then commencement. It might be a little less exciting than a full run, but it would be way more digestible. Sitting down for a Risk of Rain 2 run right now is a pretty big time commitment, and I don't like that. And before you say it, no, the prismatic trials are not the same and not what I'm looking for. They are their own thing that is different from what I want. It's like quick play versus competitive. Right now, we only have the 100% focus 40-minute long mode, and I want a quicker version. I feel like that isn't so much to ask. And for our final entry, I want to talk about something that I think everyone who plays this game has experienced at least once, and that is the elitism in the community. Look, I get it. We all love the game, and we all think the way we play it is better than everyone else. But it's when we decide to share those thoughts that it gets to be annoying and problematic. Risk of Rain 2 is a single-player game, meaning there's no wrong way to play it. If you choose to cheat in lunar coins and challenges, that's valid. If you don't use the most optimal items in the game, that's valid. If you mod the game to make it comically easy, that is also valid. We're still playing the same game. I just need every person to collectively check themselves the instant they enter any sort of online space, and remember that while it's okay to have and share your opinion, it is not okay to put other people down because of theirs. They could be the wrongest person in the world, but guess what? That doesn't matter. They're still a human person with human feelings, and we don't need to be straight up insulting someone over their opinion on the video game. This probably affects me more than others, which is fine. I have a decently large audience of people who all listen to my opinions, so I'm bound to meet a few people who are less than nice about how they respond to those opinions. But I'll be honest and say that it has gotten to me sometimes. I've been called some pretty mean things over being wrong about an opinion I have on the game, and it just baffles me how that could be anyone's reaction in this situation. I'll get over it, of course, but my point is that nobody should be saying these things at all. I don't know, maybe I'm just a fragile internet snowflake or something, but I think we could all be a little nicer over the game, as there's really no reason not to be. Be good people. It's not that hard. On that rather sour note, we're going to end the video. Sorry it's taken me so long to upload again. The poor performance of the previous video hit me with some pretty serious burnout, and it's taken me some time to get back on my feet. I have a pretty good idea for the next Risk of Rain 2 video essay, so at least you guys have something to look forward to. Thanks for watching this video through to the end. It helps me out a lot. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel like they do, and thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.